ये क्या हुआ? हरे कृष्णा प्रभु। We have to go live over here.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्णा। राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गिरिधारी राधे Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Gaurnitai, Jaya Gaurnitai, Jaya Gaurnitai, Jaya Gaurnitai. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtottara Sutta Sri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, नामचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्री श्री राधा गिरिधारी भगवान की जय, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की जय, श्री श्री गौर निताई की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. I hope everybody can hear and see me fine. Can somebody just acknowledge it's all okay? I'm not able to see the screen for some reason.
We can hear you on Zoom and also Facebook is fine. So
okay, Jai. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Haribol.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So Hare Krishna everybody, and welcome to the second session of the evening Krishna Katha that we just have started. And in the last session we discussed the first of the pastimes of Vritrasura. For those of you who couldn't join us and are joining today for the first time, I'm sure there's a link you can catch up on. But just to quickly run past the story of how it all began, when Indra actually neglected his spiritual master and as a result lost his opulence, and the demons conquered the heavenly planets, and the demons and the devatas had to go to Lord Brahma to ask for a solution. Brahma told them to approach Vishwarup, a very pure and strong Brahmana, to do their sacrifice for them. But in the course of doing sacrifice, he offered some oblation to the Danavas as well, as a result of which Indra killed him. He had to suffer the reactions. And then when he came back, Suhrta performed this big sacrifice and created this big demon specifically to kill Indra. And his name was Vritrasura, since he covered the entire 3 planetary systems. And obviously he defeated the Devatas again. And this time the Devatas went to the Lord, asked him what to do. The Lord finally gave them the solution to approach Dadichi Muni and ask for his body, since he's extremely powerful, and make a thunderbolt from his bones, and that weapon alone could kill Vritrasura. So Indra now takes the thunderbolt in his hand and confidently prepares for war. So now we've got the war field. So there's the Devatas on one side, the demigods, and the demons. So Indra is surrounded by Rudras, Vasus, Ashwini Kumaras, Maruts, Vibhus. And on the other side, we have Vritrasura with all his demons, the demi-demons, Yakshas, Rakshasas, and the scene is set. So the war began. There's no mention of conch shells, but somehow the war began. And initially, it appeared that the demons were fighting with a lot of vigor, and they were just showering weapons on the devatas. So much so that because of the shower of weapons, they were almost invisible. They couldn't be seen. And it appeared that the demons are having an upper hand. And just about that time, the devatas realized that the best way to counteract is to cut their weapons in the air itself before they come and hit them and injure or kill them. So they started attacking the weapons of the demons in the mid-air itself. And they broke the weapons to pieces. When all that happened, the demons took up a fresh set of weapons, and the same situation arose where they were all cut off. So much so that at the end, the demons did not have any other weapons to fight with. So they took up these big trees, mountain peaks, stones, and they started attacking the demigods. And the demigods cut them off as well. So now the demons were left with no weapons, standing, feeling a bit helpless and fearful. So as a result of that fearfulness, they lost their pride, and they started shivering, and they started thinking, oh, now if we don't flee the battlefield, we are sure to die. So with that thought, they started fleeing away. They started running away from the battlefield. And Vritrasura, when he saw his people fleeing, he was obviously very upset. And he rebuked them, chastised them, saying, how can you run away from the battle? By showing your back to the enemy. Don't you know that dying on the battlefield is glorious than running away from the battlefield just to save your life, which is very temporary anyway. So he was chastising like that. But the demons were so fearful of their own lives, they did not take good advice. Just like when we are engrossed in our material existence and fearful of all the different conditions and problems we are under, and we hear some good advice from a devotee, sometimes we don't take heed. We are just so much in the rut that we don't take that good advice, and we keep going in the cycle of miserable existence. So the demons, they just fled away. And here Vritrasura was on his own. And then he rebuked the devatas, the demigods. And he told them that these demons who have run away, their birth is useless. Why? What is the point of killing them? Because he used a very, very strong simile. So he said that these demons have taken birth uselessly. Why? Because they are nothing. Their life is completely useless because they are like their mother's stool. They don't even know what is good and bad for them. So killing them is of no use. You should actually fight like heroes. And if you really consider yourself heroes, then come and fight with me. So he challenged the devatas like that. And then as soon as he challenged, he roared, and he stood like that. And just out of his great roar caused a shiver amongst the devatas. They were starting to feel petrified. And then he just rushed towards them. He was huge in size. So as he rushed towards the devatas, a lot of them just died under his foot. He just trampled them, and they crushed them. So like that, he was attacking the devatas and moving towards Indra. Finally, Vritrasura comes in front of Indra. The two personalities are fighting in the battle. So as soon as he came in front of Indra, he took his club and he hurled it at Vritrasura. And Vritrasura held the club in his left hand, just like a good fielder catches a ball. So he just holds it, and like how a fielder catches a ball and throws it back at the bowler. So similarly, Vritrasura caught hold of the big club that Indra threw and threw it back at Indra. And it hit Indra's carrier, elephant carrier Airavat. It hit him so badly that the elephant just fell down with blood oozing from his mouth, and Indra was obviously on his back. So both the elephant and Indra fell down. Now, Indra had never experienced something like this. Nobody had ever thrown away his elephant and put him on the ground. He was always victorious as a result of the best weapon he had, which is his thunderbolt. So when he fell down like this, he was extremely, embarrassed. He was depressed. And all the soldiers on both sides, they had also never seen such a scene where the Devata, the king of the Devatas, is fallen on the ground. So they actually started praising Vritrasura. And it appeared Vritrasura has got an upper hand. And then when Indra was falling to the ground, Vritrasura, he did not attack him. He could have attacked Indra and maybe killed him, but he knew the codes of the Kshatriya war. So he refrained from attacking him anymore since Indra was in a helpless position. And taking advantage of that, Indra put his nectar-producing hand on Airavat. And as soon as he did that, Airavat, all the injuries that he had sustained, they became healed. And when that happened, Indra took that thunderbolt that was made from Dadichi Muni's bones. He took that in his hand. And that thunderbolt was also called Shata Parvan. Shata Parvan. Shata means 100. So there were 100 joints in that thunderbolt that was made out of the bones. So when he stood with his thunderbolt in front of Vritrasura, Vritrasura was remembering how this Indra had mercilessly killed his brother, who was not at fault at all. So he challenged Indra and said that today is the day. I'm going to pierce your heart and free myself from my debt that I have for my dead brother. Just for maintaining a heavenly enjoyment and for sense gratification, you have killed a self-realized Brahmana. In fact, you don't have any shame, any mercy, any glory, and any fortune. So you are going to die a very, very painful death. And still, Indra, he had this thunderbolt, and he was so perplexed by the impact of Vritrasura's throw that he was still hesitating. He had the thunderbolt, but he was hesitating to fight. Can you imagine? So Vritrasura understood Indra's position and his state of mind. So he told Indra, "Why are you hesitating to hurl the thunderbolt? Do you doubt the capacity of the thunderbolt? Do you know that this thunderbolt has been made by Dadichi Muni's bones and is empowered by none other than Lord Vishnu himself, and it is infallible?" Can you imagine? The weapon, the invincible weapon, is in Indra's hand, and because he suffered a temporary setback, he started doubting the Lord's guarantee or convictions. And on the other side, his enemy, Vritrasura, had so much faith in the Supreme Lord and his opulence and his powers that he had to remind Indra that, hey, you have the infallible weapon. Why are you doubting its capacity, its capability? So Vritrasura further says that no doubt, see, I'm going to die. And I know that. Because Vishnu has taken your side, and whosoever side Vishnu takes, there is always victory, opulence, good fortune. It's guaranteed. And this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita itself, in the last verse, 1878. So Vritrasura said that at the end of the day, I'm going to be free from bondage and attain the highest destination that a living entity can aspire for. Remember that the Lord does not give material opulence to a surrendered devotee because it has the propensity to increase enmity, anxiety, pride, and agitation. And at that point, Vritrasura prayed to the Supreme Lord and uttered 4 wonderful prayers, which is in chapter 11, the last 4 verses. And I would like to recite that and offer it to the Supreme Lord. Aham hareta vapadai kamula dasanudaso bhavitasmi bhuyah Manasmareta supatergunamste grinita vakarma karotu kayaha. Nanakaprishtham nacha parameshtham na sarvabhaumam narasadhipatyam na yoga siddhi mapunarbhavam va samanjasatva virahaya kangshe. Ajata paksha iva mataram khaga stanyam yathavat satarakshudartha. Priyam priyeva vishitam vishanna mano aravindaksha didrikshate tvam mamottama janeshu sakyam samsara chakre bhramita swakarmabhi tvanmayayatmaj ajadarageshu asakta chittasya nanatha bhuyaha. So these were the 4 wonderful verses that Vritrasura recited. And I'll just quickly touch upon the gist of these 4 prayers. And it's simply wonderful, good to memorize amongst so many other prayers in Bhagavatam. So the first verse, Prabhupada writes, is the sum and substance of our devotional life. So it says, he's praying, Aham hare tava padaika mula, that I would like to be the servant of your servant. Why? So that my mind can always think about you, my words can always glorify you, and my body can only engage in your loving devotional service. The first verse. The second verse is extremely interesting. It is a verse with a big list. But the list is not of things that he wants. Usually we go to the Lord with a big list of things that we want. You know, Lord, I want this, 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 I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. Vritrasura's next verse, next prayer, is a list, but it is a list of things that he does not want. So he says, I don't want what? I don't want elevation to a higher planet, enjoying in the higher planet. I don't want the opulence of the middle planetary system, and I don't want to be in the lower planetary systems. I do not want to be the master of all the mystic powers which people aspire for. I don't want them, nor do I want any liberation. I don't want these if I have to give up serving your lotus feet. So this is the second verse. Third verse, he gives a very nice example of his eagerness to perform devotional service in the association of devotees, by serving the servant of his servant. So how is the eagerness? The eagerness is like 3 examples. Like a baby bird who is waiting all day for his mother to return and give him some food. Just like a small calf that is tied and is anxiously awaiting for the mother to come and feed that calf. And just like a morose wife whose husband has gone away for a long time and she longs to have his company to enjoy. So in the same eagerness, he wants to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. And the 4th verse, he says, what we should ask Lord as benediction. So he says that I've been wandering all over this material world through different universes. And I'm completely attached to my body, wife, children, and home. Now, I do not want to be attached any longer. And I only want that my mind and consciousness should only be attached to your lotus feet and to your service. Vritrasura ki jai. So it's so wonderful that Vritrasura, a so-called Asura, is actually a pure devotee of the Lord, a real devotee of the Lord. And he utters such wonderful prayers. So please read the details and purports later on if you can. So he recited these 4 prayers, Vritrasura. And he said that actually I'm more eager to die. Why? Because I want to go back to Godhead. And on the other hand, Indra was actually eager to do what? He was not eager to die, but he was eager to gain back his heavenly opulence, his kingdom. Why? So that he could enjoy more sense gratification and kind of be in this material world. So the Lord, by the medium of this war, fulfilled the desires of both, or eventually fulfilled the desires of both Vritrasur and Indra. Obviously, he was a bit more merciful to Vritrasur, and we'll see how. So anyway, hearing Vritrasur and understanding the qualities of Vritrasur, because an Asur cannot recite such wonderful prayers. When he heard the prayers and when he heard the advice Vritrasur was giving him, or the way he was communicating and talking to Indra, he knew that he's not an Asur. He's definitely a devotee. So he became very morose. He said, well, I mean, how can I kill a devotee? And he had his thunderbolt, but he was hesitating to fight anymore. So Vritrasur, when he saw that Indra was hesitating, he was getting disappointed because he wanted to finish the war. Of course, he wanted to fight to the point of killing Indra, but he knew the results. So he knew what is the outcome, and he was awaiting it because he knew that his win is through dying, not through winning. But he knew that until Indra attacks, how will he kill? So he wanted to incite Indra. So what did he do? He had a trident. So he took his trident and he hurled it at Indra. So as soon as the trident went towards Indra, he smashed it with his thunderbolt. And when he smashed the trident, he also cut one of Vritrasur's gigantic arms. So as soon as his arm was cut, Vritrasur rushed at Indra with his iron mace. And he struck Indra on his jaw. And he dealt a severe blow to Airavat. And the blow was so strong that the thunderbolt from Indra's hands just fell down. He just dropped it. And as soon as that happened, again, people saw that he's got an upper hand. And they were praising Vritrasur and his wonderful spirit of fighting. And Indra, because he dropped his thunderbolt, he was so ashamed. I can't even fight properly. And he was so ashamed, he didn't even bother picking up the thunderbolt that was just lying next to him on the ground. And he was frozen. And Vritrasur is, he's getting, anxious. Why is he not fighting? He's got the thunderbolt by which I'm destined to die. So he says, Indra, take up your thunderbolt and kill your enemy. Don't worry about anything. Wherever there is the Lord, there is victory. It's guaranteed. And by the way, I'm almost defeated. You have cut my weapons. You have destroyed my weapons. You have cut one of my arms. Still, I'm not morose. I'm trying my best to fight. So you should give up your moroseness and fight. Don't forget that actually the result of this war depends on providence. So at this point, Vritrasur, incidentally, was acting as Indra's guru. He was acting as his enemy's spiritual master, giving him transcendental knowledge. So Indra actually was praising, he was getting Vritrasur's instructions and the way he was inspiring Indra. Indra felt nice from within and he was praising. And he said, "Oh, great demon, you're actually a great devotee." And at that point, Vritrasur, he threw an iron club with the remaining hand, which was his left hand. He threw it at Indra because he said, well, if he's praising me, how can Indra, when he's praising me, how can he fight me? Right? So it's not something that should happen. So he took the club and he threw it at Indra. And when he threw it at Indra, Indra immediately smashed the club. And just after that, he also cut off Vritrasur's left arm. So Vritrasur was now without his arms. And it says, Bhagavatam says that he was just looking like a flying mountain whose wings had been cut. And he was looking beautiful. Such a nice description. Asur looking beautiful. And then Vritrasura had no hands, no weapons. So what did he do? He didn't give up. And that is something that we have to learn. Doesn't matter how much we are down under, we should not lose the enthusiasm and in doing our duty. His duty was to fight and kill Indra, and he was fighting till the last. So although his arms were cut, he placed his lower jaw on the ground and his upper jaw in the sky, and came towards Indra and quickly swallowed him up. So now Indra with Airavat was in Vritrasura's belly. And all the demigods, they became morose. Oh my God, Indra is dead. Vritrasura has just swallowed him, just like he swallowed so many weapons of the Devatas in the earlier instance. So when Indra was inside, obviously he didn't die as a result of the thunderbolt and the potency of Vishnu. So he began cutting open Vritrasura's abdomen and came out. And after he came out, he saw that Vritrasura was in a trance, in samadhi. And so he took his thunderbolt and he started cutting Vritrasura's head. But he just couldn't cut it in one hit. It took him, Bhagavatam says, it took him 1 full year to cut Vritrasura's head. So what had actually happened? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that when Vritrasura swallowed Indra, he knew that he has killed Indra and the purpose of his existence as Vritrasura was fulfilled, because that's why he was created, right? So he killed Indra, he was already in the tummy, and now his intent was what? To focus his mind and all his attention onto the Supreme Lord, and he completely went into a trance and samadhi, right? Ready to give up this body. So it is said that when Indra actually was cutting open his abdomen, Vritrasura was already in samadhi, right? And because he was, because he was in samadhi and because of the yogic powers, his body had become so hard. In fact, his neck had become so hard that Indra could not chop it with his thunderbolt. And it is said that Vritrasura at that point, when he went into samadhi, gave up this material body and went back to Godhead. So what Indra actually ended up chopping was just Vritrasura's yogic body. And because of the power, it took him 1 year to cut Vritrasura's neck. So Vritrasura, from a material perspective, gave up his body and he was killed by Indra. But who actually had won the battle, who won the war? It is for us to see and decide. Right? So Vritrasura reached the ultimate destination by giving up his body. And Indra, by preserving his body or by protecting his own body, went back to this material world just to suffer, just to rotate in this material existence. So who actually won the battle? It's for us to decide. So it is said that Vritrasura specifically performed this wonderful pastime to specifically show us that all of us are here for a purpose. We have a purpose in our existence. We have a purpose in our life. And no matter how much impediments, how many challenges, how many problems we face in our life on a day-to-day basis, we should understand what is the goal of our existence. And we should have determined to move towards that goal. Of course, to help us accomplish that, the association of devotees is extremely important. So there are many, many instructive lessons that we get from Vritrasura's story. So in the next session, we'll focus at some of the important key instructions that we get from this particular pastime. And we'll also see that Indra, after killing a Brahmana, son of a Brahmana, Vritrasura, and a great devotee, he had to suffer some reactions, just like he had to suffer after he killed Vishwarup. So he suffered some reactions. And who was this? Why? How come this Vritrasura was such a big devotee? it's a mystery. So we'll see what he was in his past life and what made him become an asur, and how the story actually unfolds before the current pastime was being performed. So next time we'll look at Vritrasura's previous birth and some of the instructions. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay, well, are you all done?
All done, Prabhu? Yeah. Oh, sorry, you're still there, is it?
Yeah, so press, when you go and press more, you should just be able to press stop.